Hey everyone, welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. Let's take a look at what's happening with the broader market today as of December the 1st. Again, it is the start to a new week, but at the same time, it is the start to a brand new month as well. And again, we're coming to the end of 2025, and you're looking across the board, even today, as we started off, Monday and a brand new month, you're actually seeing the overall market retracement pretty much hanging on. Again, if you did watch my yesterday's update, we talked about, this flash pullback for the broader market. Bitcoin was able to get rejected around the $90,000 price point, and we saw major amounts of liquidation once again, and that of course has had an impact on the altcoin market. We're going to sit together, take a look at what's going on. So as far as the overall market is concerned, as I've said, just a few coins, maybe two or three coins that are up, but majority of the coins down, pretty much 6 to 10%, depending on which coin you're looking at. And again, if you're looking at it on a weekly time frame, we just don't want to be forgetting what has happened on the weekly time frame. We'll get into that, but before we do that, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in cryptocurrency. So, take a look at the weekly time frame. So, as far as the weekly time frame is concerned, we saw all the gains, and I talked about this in the yesterday's update as well. But that's something you'd want to be looking very closely to. Over the last 1 week, we were seeing the market seeing some sort of an uptick, some sort of a bounce, which again was quite an impressive bounce, to be quite honest with you. And all the gains that majority of these altcoins did end up making, they're all gone. And this is why profit taking is very, very, very important in times like these. Obviously, if you're in for the long haul, then volatility might not really matter to you, because again, your long term is your perspective. But if you're here to make gains, if you're here to make short term gains, and you don't really want to hold long term, then you want to lock those profits in. You want to lock those profits in. But let's take a look at some of the news. Then we're going to talk about the prices and all that good stuff. So, as far as the fear and greed index is concerned, we talked about how the fear and greed index was making some sort of a progress, but that again is gone. You can see, fear and greed index is now back into the extreme fear zone. So, there are definitely long term accumulators within the crypto space. The people that are taking advantage of moves like this are the ones that usually tend to do good long haul. Obviously, there's a risk factor associated to it always. That's where your due diligence research comes into play. But people that are paying attention to the markets while there's no interest, and believe it or not, in a grand scheme of things, if you look at the overall interest that crypto has right now, it's not bullish. It's quite bearish, and it's been quite some time since we've seen nice bullish momentum consecutively for the crypto markets. You could see pretty much April all the way till July, consecutively we've seen a positive months, where in terms of the monthly candle close for Bitcoin was positive. And of course, other than that, it's been quite bearish since then. But even during these times, it was Bitcoin mainly, and the big cap coins that were the ones that were holding up well. But if you look at the short term, and even I would say mid cap coins, they were still going in the downwards trajectory from the beginning of the year. And that really tells you that altcoins really haven't had the time. It goes back to what we've been discussing on the channel quite a bit, that the market is very saturated, meaning there's so many coins across the board now, millions of coins across the board, and mainly due to meme coins. To be honest, there's like thousands of meme coins that launch every second. And of course, that's the main reason why there's so many coins now in the crypto space. But it's much more than compared to the previous cycle. So again, also one thing we need to factor in: the dominance didn't really do what you would expect the dominance to do. Again, this is why we talk about the dominance day in, day out. But still, something I always emphasize on, if you've been following the channel, there's a big misunderstanding for a lot of people in the space that think that this market, yes, believe it or not, we did see a bull market. If you've been here since 2022, you guys know that market performed amazing. Like, it was absolutely amazing. And historically speaking, around the time of 2025 we're in, usually this time is bullish. Quarter four is always bullish for the market, and we're coming from a bull market. How you could distinguish a bull market is taking a look at Bitcoin. You don't measure bull market with altcoins. That's the another big misunderstanding that a lot of people don't realize. People think altcoins are where you judge whether or not. No, Bitcoin, the leading indicator, and altcoins too. Take a look at Solana. Take a look at BNB. Take a look at XRP. There's so many coins. Sui is another one. There's so many coins that did perform really good as well. So pretty much what I'm trying to get at is if you were accumulating over the course of the last few years, pretty much last bear market, you still ended up doing quite well for yourself. And if you had a diversified portfolio, and going further into the future, I want you guys to understand the importance. If you don't have a diversified portfolio, make sure you're not making that mistake. Make sure your portfolio is well diversified across the board, because there are certain coins that lag at times, and there are certain coins that outpace these coins that are lagging during times, and that vice versa. And you see that quite a bit. And in today's example, let me give you just a little bit of an understanding. So you can see Quant right now is having a great time. You can see even on a monthly time frame, the entire market is down substantially. Quant is up. And there was a time where some of these other coins were going up, and at the same time, Quant was lagging big time. So this is why you want to have a diversified portfolio. The game has definitely gotten much harder compared to the previous cycles. The previous cycles, valuations or for the overall space was quite low. But again, I personally think meme coins have kind of, I have said this on the channel before, but I think meme coins have really made the space, not like what it used to be, because now, retail focuses on, the P&Ls, the instant gratification. But, there's a short amount of, people in a grand scheme of things that are still here, that want to pick the right coins for the long haul and that actually have patience. That's pretty much what I'm trying to get at. So, during these times, historically speaking, this is where, people end up doing good, especially the ones that are accumulating the right projects and understand the risks. So, yeah, do their due diligence research. Because if you look at it on a monthly time frame, you're seeing substantial amount of, pullback for a lot of coins. So, from an opportunity standpoint for long haul, especially if you're a dollar cost averaging in, it's looking, a great opportunity in my opinion. But again, let me know in the comments what you guys personally think. But take a look at the Bitcoin return a negative 17.67% in November 2025, its second lowest monthly results on record per coin glass. So again, historically speaking, in a bull market, yes, I repeat, we were in a bull market. And it's crazy that people will call me absolutely insane when I say this, but if you look at Bitcoin on a daily time frame, Bitcoin is still in a bull market. Bull market ends, if you want to know where bull market ends, in my opinion, it's once we drop below the 78.6. And why do you think I've always talked about this key range, that you don't want to see the price of Bitcoin? Bitcoin could literally go down to $75,000 even, and this bull trajectory would still be in play. But dropping below the 78.6 would invalidate, and this would end the bull market. That would end the bull market. Until then, if you zoom out and take a look at it, Bitcoin is in this upwards trajectory. People called, the bull market to end back in April as well. And we saw the market, pick up and saw quite a big bounce. And, same thing happened here, August of 2024, same thing. And look what happened with the market. So you got to notice these trends. And obviously, we talk about how Bitcoin is exceeding the overall supply. The demand is really high out there for crypto, and even crypto products, XRP ETFs. Take a look at the numbers with these market conditions really pulling impressive numbers. And the demand factor is definitely there. Take a look at this. A major news coming out today. Bloomberg is reporting that Vanguard will roll out crypto ETF access to its brokerage clients tomorrow. Tracks with my reporting from September that this has been in works for several months, according to Eleanor. And if you know Vanguard, it is one of the biggest asset managers when it comes to the financial world. And this is massive because I think they have, if I'm not mistaken, about 10 to 11 trillion dollars asset under management. So there you go. More money that could potentially flow into these ETFs. And as far as ETFs is concerned, it's just the start to see that wave really going in. But as far as yesterday numbers are concerned, we've seen one once again, one of the biggest liquidations just yesterday alone has caused about $800 million in terms of liquidation. So these are things that we don't want to be forgetting, but let's take a look at what's happening with the market. So as far as the dominance is concerned, we did see the dominance come down to 59.14%. You can see for yourself, picked up again. We went up to 59.53%. Bitcoin, guys, take a look at Bitcoin very, very closely here. Bitcoin came down to it did go below the $86,000. Yesterday, I talked to you guys about the $86,000 key range. We dropped below it. We actually ended up retesting 83,800. But look where the daily candle close happening right now. The daily candle close for Bitcoin is back above $86,000. And I even emphasized in my updates that, we could definitely see the price of Bitcoin drop in below the 86K key range, but you don't want to see the close for the daily candle below here. And that's not happening right now. We did drop below, and you could see the price of Bitcoin back above $86,000, and we saw a daily candle close above $86,000 time and time out, showing the importance of that key range. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys personally think. What are your overall thoughts? Do you think we're actually going to see Bitcoin breaking below this bullish trend that we're in, and then really start to see a recovery from there on, or do you think we're going to see things turning around? This, in my opinion, what we have seen was pure manipulation, based off of with the way Bitcoin went down based off of no news. You could say the bond market in Japan could be causing a little bit of that, but in a grand scheme of things, there was no real news factor that caused this. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you so much for all your support. I love each and every one of you guys, and we'll see you later. It's been Crypto ZX, and peace.